every worker's thinking at this time and past this time, up until the point where Triple H was unofficially the boss and then groomed to be officially the boss and then officially the boss. But as a worker, but what he's saying, what he's saying, take out all the thing about marrying the boss's daughter and all that stuff. Think about this. And this is a top guy issue a lot of times. Like I said last week, like I said last week, some of the top guys, like top football players, make terrible NFL coaches. In other words, they know how they can play. They know how they can get over. They know how they are going to read defenses, whatever analogy you want to use. Hunter and other people are proving that top guys aren't always the best bookers and aren't always, in fact, good bookers. You need outside influences. People can write. This is really a situation that maybe not in 2022 to 2024, where it was like the honeymoon phase of the Triple H era, but it is coming up really quick that he's been exposed as really not being the best to book other talent. They can get themselves over all day long. So what he's saying is right. Hunter can always book himself, get himself over, book himself to win the titles. But when it comes to this era of wrestlers, it's falling short. I don't know if it's TKO that's handing down these, we need these, we don't need these, and Hunter's just a puppet that's basically doing their will. But in a way, you think about it, and it's telling that whenever the heat really turns up on Hunter, what does he do? Go back to NXT to get that pop and get the confirmation bias that he's the best.
You, I guess, met Triple H. I don't know if you met him in 97 when you were with the WWF briefly, but you joined the WWF in the summer of 1999. So you'll have met Triple H at least before he was dating Stephanie McMahon. So can you tell me if there was any difference in that kind of year in the demeanor of Triple H? I mean, did he act any different after he was sort of, maybe not figured in the office, but he was fairly bulletproof at that point after Vince had approved the relationship, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, at first when I met him, it was like, hey, man, and that's it. You know what I mean? Hello and goodbye on both our parts. I don't even think I was on his radar until the right to censor. That's when I say, do not be a heel or try to be a top heel when Triple H is a heel. Make him a babyface and make him want to work with you. You're still gonna eventually get in the ring as Spirit Squad or whatever, as here comes the tank and the army and the pyro. And you're like, well, I think people know who's going over in this match. So yeah, I mean, but to where I said it before, let's not mix it up as far as personality, as far as the way Triple H is as a person, as a worker, as a shark in the locker room. He's still one of the safest and best workers out there that you want to work with. Cornette says he doesn't draw money. He works with the guy who draws money. It's kind of his spot with Taker, Austin, and Rocky, mostly in that top five. But I would work him just like Flair. Whatever personal differences, I trust that guy in the ring. I trust the Ric Flair in the ring. And you know you're going to be safe and you're not going to be hurt. Hunter would finish the match with a torn quad. He tore his quad, and he still allowed Jericho to put him in the walls of Jericho. You can't ignore those little things there.
Speaking of Chris Jericho, he got to the WWF in 99, and Triple H immediately started acting like his friend and then gave him his telephone number, which was just a fake number.
Really?
Like, why? Yeah, he gave him the old dummy phone number.
Well, what did he... I mean, is that just like a rib? And Jericho's still in the locker room. It's not like just somebody in passing, here's my number, and then they try to call it, but you don't see them the next week.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about.
Hey, you got to give it to Al Snow. At least he put Val Venus's real number on Raw that one time to look for Pepper.
He did that. He did that indeed. The thing is, but there's other things, in 2000 as well, him and Rock, I guess, kind of got along on a professional level, but argued a lot kind of as well. That'd be a great one, Triple H and The Rock as a comparison for the future. We should do an entire thing on both of those. But there was also, like, the Kurt Angle thing, where he completely killed one of the best storylines of 2000, because he genuinely, in his heart of hearts, believed that Stephanie would not pick Kurt Angle in real life over himself. So therefore, he killed that whole Stephanie-Kurt love triangle storyline.
Well, let's kind of pile on that point and how Jericho won the undisputed title, and they made it all about serving Stephanie as they were going in. That was WrestleMania 18, the match that followed Hogan and Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And Stephanie was the focal point of all this, correct?
Right, it was Stephanie, then Triple H, then their bulldog Lucy, and then somewhere way at bottom is Chris Jericho, as far as importance in that story.
Who happened to be like the first undisputed champion in history.
Yes. He put on a lot of weight. Did you notice that? Like, I don't know if someone got in his ear saying you need to look like a heavyweight. He packed on the weight really, like, hugely in like a couple of months.
It might have been him.
At that point, Jericho.
It might have been him to say that I'm now at this level with Rocky, Hunter, Austin, Taker, and after all that, and especially in that match, it was actually the right call to surprise finish everybody because everybody assumed Jericho was not going to win. Who was he in there with? Rocky and Austin, correct?
Rock, Austin, Kurt.
So a four-way with Kurt or Jericho would have been a good choice.
It was a four-person tournament. It was a four-person tournament.
Yeah. So think about that. I mean, that's a pretty. I would say Chris was like, I'm dealing with the big sharks now. I need to put on some size and look like a heavyweight champion.
Well, let's get back to the Bret Hart quotes. Let me just say this. I wish Triple H had been in the dressing room during the Montreal screw job, basically. I wish that it had happened. I wish he was in the dressing room because he might not be married to Stephanie anymore, or it might not have ever happened. There was so much anger, and Triple H was such a slimeball back in 1997. He was a guy that I had very little respect for. And we'll go one more. I never rated him. You guys tell me, there's not one match I ever watched of Triple H's with anybody that I ever thought like, oh, that's a great match. I never wanted to wrestle him. I always look at every wrestler and go, I could do this with that guy, and I could do this with that guy. But with Triple H, it was always just a match. Nothing special ever came to mind. So calling into question, I guess, I don't know Triple H's ability to put on an exciting match, but can you name a great Triple H match?
Oh, he had a solid match with Brock at WrestleMania.
Cactus Jack.
Cactus Jack, where he got the puncture, and that's where we all discovered he was with Stephanie, that he got the puncture getting backdropped into the pallet. I mean, you're talking about like with him and Mick and everything they did as Mankind, it was really heavy stuff, but I would still put it on Mick to bring up the level of excitement by taking those big bumps for Hunter. Hunter would take his bumps, but it was more about punishing Mick and getting sympathy on him. Like I said, once again, Hunter's a great person to work with somebody that draws money. And like I said with Hunter before, after he really did get in charge, what do we get? The throne, the sledgehammer, the Terminator entrance, the Lemmy introduction with the King of Kings and all that stuff. He is basically what every wrestler hopes to be. Mostly smoke and mirrors, mostly presentation, entrance, music, and that will carry you through the whole match. He had the benefit of picking what I would come out to the Star Blazers music with the big Starship Yamato or anything. And everybody like, what in the world is this? But it's for me. And he's a big Arnold Schwarzenegger fan. So here comes the Terminator. He did Conan before. He did it. He does anything he wants of these. And, give him a ton of pyro, ton of lighting. Have him and Stephanie come out on the trike, which I still laugh about if you're a motorcycle guy. I'm not. I would ride on. You give me four wheels on the motorcycle. But, yeah, I mean, I'll go back to this thing, too. One of the most telling Triple H things, and it had to be uncomfortable for him because he knew about the Montreal Screwjob previous to that night. Him and Sean knew. They were communicating with Vince, or Sean was, and letting Hunter know. That thing with Bret's ex-wife, reading him the riot act and him the head down, I had no idea. It was so...
He knew.
Oh, you could feel the lie coming out of him, So I think that's what kind of Bret is talking about, is like, you're literally lying to my wife at the time, you're a snake. But then again, let's I'm sorry, I'll make you mad. Bret wanting to think that he was going to show up on Nitro and surrender the title or come on Raw and then go to WCW without Bischoff trying to get that belt on Nitro. Bischoff would have tried and I would too if I was Bischoff. No, come bring it. There would have been another trash can like with Medusa, my good friend, my new friend Medusa.
I think there's misconceptions about that. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what Bret would have done or what Eric could have done, because there is no way, not a chance. We'll talk about that later.
Bret would not have done it. Bret would have, I don't believe...
Eric wouldn't have done it. Eric wouldn't have done it, and I'll tell you why now. It's because they were already embroiled in a lawsuit with the WWF over the Medusa thing. They would have never, ever had another... after the Ultimo Dragon as well, and that light heavyweight championship that everyone forgot. But after the Medusa thing, after the Medusa thing, they would have never done it. Not a chance. They would have cost themselves millions.
You know what? I would agree with you. The Medusa thing they sued for just because it was just like, we're going to sue. It did mean a little something, and not to throw shade on that women's title or Medusa, but in relation, if you take the championship, and I'm not saying, I said Bret would not do that. Bret had too much pride, and that title meant something to him. So it meant something to him and his legacy. But if somehow, some way, Bischoff had the belt, threw it in the trash or whatever, you have a really good case for a lot of punitive damages for a lawsuit. That's a slam dunk win, because you're really hurting the brand and the identity and everything. You throw that in there, WCW might as well say they won the war. Mm-hmm. I just feel like that right there, even just the 1% chance that somehow Bret leaves the company as champion or never loses it to put somebody else over, that didn't need to happen. I mean, and by the way, it ushered in the best era of their business. And once again, that incident kind of was the beginning of saving the company.
Okay, let's wrap this up then with Bret and Triple H first. Or in fact, I'm actually going to add this. So MVP also recently doubled down on comments that he felt that he had zero respect for the way that Triple H treated him in the Hurt Business personally and professionally. And now I'm wondering, because obviously you talk about Hunter. I mean, you always put in an addendum and say, no matter how I feel, he was this, this, and this. So, I know you feel a way about him, as a lot of people do, but do you think people are feeling more safe now in 2025 to admit their true feelings on Hunter or Paul Levesque? However, because he's sort of gone through that grace period when he took over WWE Creative. 2023 was great, 2024 was great, 2025 has sort of just faltered creatively speaking and presentation speaking. They're still selling, huge amount of tickets and making more money than ever. I'm not sure how long that can continue. But that said, do you think a lot of people are going to be coming out the woodwork to basically bury Triple H? Now they feel that the public opinion, the public tide of opinion is going against Triple H now.
Yeah, I think it's a lot cooler to say something about Hunter now, since the fans are starting to pile on him. Now, like I said, we try our best to be objective. I talked about personal feelings, but I also give credit where credit is due as far as him as a worker and really being a student. He got to name the game because he said, I'm a student of the game, and now I am the game.
He didn't get that. He didn't get that name for that. Do you know who the original game was meant to be?
Who?
Owen Hart.
Really?
He was originally going to be the game. Then he died. And then Triple H, being the player of the game, he took the nickname for himself. It was going to be Owen.
No,
so there you go.
I did not know that. I'm just saying the locker room interview with JR is where that name was birthed for him. The second birth of it.
Ask Russo that, because it might have been Russo who came up with that name. But ask him.
Yeah, he might have wrote that promo or wrote with Triple H, or they worked together on bullet points. But I'm saying that's when Triple H that's when he started driving home the point about being the game.
Yeah. No, I'm saying that Russo may have come up with that for Owen, because I think he was just, when the Blue Blazer thing was going to be done with, he was just going to turn into a serious wrestler again for the third time in 18 months. Yeah. But I believe I'm right in saying. But yeah, if you could confirm with Vince, I'd like to know.
All right, just if you could make a note next episode or whatever, we'll kind of like in the beginning talk about that and confirm or amend what we said. Right now it's super fashionable to get on Hunter. I still, like I said, being objective, looking at it as it is, 2022 was great. 2023, even 24, 25 has been kind of a disaster from a business and a creative standpoint. Honeymoon period's over, but I would still challenge the fact that what changed? Is it a TKO Rock thing, butting heads with Triple H, and now things seemingly end, seemingly pivot back? Do you see what I mean? What percentage of blame should be on Hunter, and what percentage of blame should be on The Rock and TKO? We have obviously an internal power struggle way back to when Cody got bumped from WrestleMania and then brought back in. So yeah, and it turned out to be like one of the best Royal Rumbles of WrestleMania runs that I can remember, with one of the best finishes of any WrestleMania in history. So what I'm saying is we really have to be objective with spreading the blame and not just, it's cool to hate this dude.
Well, I mean, it's funny because we're going to talk about Montreal, but people sort of argue, well, it had to be fixed because look at all these wonderful things that came out of the Montreal Screwjob. Well, guess what? People adapted on the fly and made it fantastic. But it's the same as Cody and The Rock and everything like that. That was all adapted on the fly due to power struggles, and against all odds, it worked out better than it could have been with the original plan. I think it's the kind of thing you can't, or would be very difficult to script, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Isn't it the best wrestling, though?
Outcome.
That's the way booking, that's the way Paulie used to book in ECW. That's the way really, I'm sure Dutch talked about that. Let's survey the environment, the situation, something crazy happened. I mean, even in Memphis, what was it like? Bill Dundee was involved in trying to stab somebody or do something, and they turn into an angle on TV. You have to run with some stuff that happens, or the fluidity of what's going on is what makes it interesting week to week. Hey, we don't even know what's going to happen this week, and the fans won't. It's become way too predictable. That was the first time WWE in many, many years turned around and said, maybe Daniel Bryan was the only last time in recent memory, but, we just got to go with the flow with this. And when they did that and let it go and let it just take on a life of its own, they got one of the best WrestleMania seasons they could ever hope for.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, just so you know, when Dutch was booking in Puerto Rico during his sort of a record-breaking run down there, he didn't figure out what he was going to do until he got to the building that day. He was, do that, and the other.
Yeah,
I've thought about it.
You got a match, and you got a match. We got a card. Mix them together. But guess what? That's how we didn't know what the matches were going to be till Paulie got there.
Yeah,
sometimes that's
great. For the most part.
It's great to have a naturally organic reaction, that really great nervousness of like, okay, the pressure's on, I got to put together a match, or we got to go out there and do it, rather than these 5-6 hour rehearsals where you get all the good takes and they're on TV or pay-per-view, it gets messed up.